What would you do if you rented a house you had never been to before and found old photos of yourself scattered everywhere? This happened to me, and what I found next changed me forever. I've always enjoyed traveling alone, not because I'm antisocial or a loner, but because there's something purifying about getting lost in an unfamiliar place. This trip was supposed to be another temporary escape. I rented an isolated country house through a trusted platform looking for peace, inspiration, and distance from the world. The description was simple: restored old cabin surrounded by forest. Ideal for writers or spiritual retreat. The photos showed rustic but cozy architecture, a stone fireplace, large windows, antique furniture. Perfect. I arrived at dusk. From the moment I stepped out of the car, something felt off. Not because of the condition of the house, the weather, or even the deathly silence of the surrounding woods. It was something deeper, as if the house already knew I was coming. The key was under the doormat, just as the host had said. I went in. It smelled like old wood and dampness, but nothing alarming. I dropped my bag, explored a little, and lit the fireplace. Then, while inspecting the bookshelf in the living room, I saw the first one. A framed photograph, black and white, blurry, but definitely me. I was wearing the same coat I had in college, sitting on a bench in a park from my hometown. But I'd never seen this photo before. It didn't make sense. The next day I found more, in the bathroom, in the kitchen, in the attic. Some were recent, others from my childhood. Photos I had never taken. Photos no one should have. That's when I realized this house wasn't a retreat. It was a trap, and I was already too late to leave. I arrived exhausted, body stiff from hours of driving. The cabin looked just like the pictures, rustic, quiet, surrounded by towering trees that darkened the sky even before sunset. I lit the fireplace, made some coffee, and started unpacking. On the shelf next to some dusty books, I saw it. A black and white photo in a worn, gold frame. I froze. It was me. I must have been around 20, hair longer, the same tired eyes I still carry, sitting on a park bench reading a book. I had never seen that photo before. Never. I picked it up. On the back, in faint blue ink, it said, Autumn, 2014. He still doesn't know. My heart dropped. Who had taken it? How did it get here? I tried to rationalize it. Maybe someone who looked like me? But what are the odds of randomly renting a house and finding a photo of a stranger who looks exactly like you? The next day, after a restless night, I decided to search the house thoroughly. I had to find a logical explanation. I went upstairs. 2 rooms, a guest room, empty, and one sealed with a rusted padlock. An attic? The lock wouldn't budge, but I noticed fresh marks around the latch, as if it had recently been opened and closed often. I went back downstairs, searched the drawers, and found a ring of keys. Tried one after another. The third worked. The lock fell to the floor with a hollow clank. The room was dark, dusty, and cold. I opened the door slowly, and the morning light revealed something that took my breath away. The walls were covered in photographs, dozens, maybe hundreds, all of me, different ages, different places, some clearly from childhood, at the beach, my first day of school, family parties I barely remembered. Others were recent, one of me in the subway, another at the grocery store just weeks ago. Each had dates. Some were labeled in the same blue ink, still searching. He doesn't remember yet. This is where it began. I sat on the floor, heart pounding. Someone had been watching me my entire life, but who and why? Then I found the one I wasn't supposed to see, a photo from that very morning of me having coffee by the fireplace. Impossible. That photo hadn't existed a few hours ago. Or had it? I decided to contact the host. I had messaged him the night before, no response. Now, desperate, I called him directly. It rang once, twice, and on the third tone, someone answered. "Hello?" A man's voice, raspy with a strange accent. "I'm the guest in the cabin. I found something strange. I need to speak with you. It's urgent." A long silence. "You've seen the photos, haven't you?" "What? Who is this?" "You don't understand yet? But you will. Just don't leave the house, not until it's done." He hung up. I tried calling back. Nothing. No signal. I checked. No internet. Phone. No bars. The house was completely cut off. I went back to the attic. Something was pulling me there. On an old table, I found a leather-bound notebook, a journal, dated from 1987 to 2015. The author wrote about me, from before I was even born. "The boy has been identified. His energy is the key, born with the mark." Next page, a baby photo. Me. "We must observe him from the beginning. We can't lose him like the last one." Who were they? What mark? How could someone write about me before I existed? The house was alive, and it wouldn't let me leave. Outside, the forest seemed denser, darker, as if it had shifted around the house. I needed air. I walked the same trail I took when I arrived, but everything looked different, as if the trees had rearranged overnight. Then I heard whispers. Distant at first, then closer. "He's here now." He still doesn't remember. He mustn't escape. I spun around. No one. I ran in the opposite direction, unsure where I was going. My footsteps crackled over wet leaves. Then, through the trees, I saw it. A tall figure, hooded, motionless, watching me. I stepped back. The ground gave way. I fell into a hidden ditch covered in brush. I hit my head. Everything went black. I woke up hours later. It was night. The figure was gone. But beside me on the ground was an old video camera. I turned it on. Only one file. I played it. It was me, sleeping in the cabin bed, filmed from the ceiling corner. The footage showed someone slowly approaching me in the dark and whispering into my ear. I returned to the house shaking, covered in mud and leaves, still holding the camera. I watched the video again, frame by frame. I couldn't see the figure's face, just someone, leaning slowly over me as I slept. In the final second, their lips moved. I replayed it over and over, turned the volume all the way up. Finally, I understood the whisper. "You're almost remembering." What was I supposed to remember? I walked back into the cabin. It wasn't warm or welcoming anymore. The fire in the hearth had died out. The walls looked grayer, the wood more rotten. It smelled like confinement. I ran upstairs to the attic. Something was pushing me. Something wanted me to see more. On the far end of the wall, I found something I hadn't noticed before. Not a photo, a mirror. Small, embedded in the wall, framed like all the pictures. I saw my reflection. But it wasn't me. It was a child, 5 years old. Me. In a white room, tied to a chair, crying. I screamed, backed away, but the image stayed. The boy in the mirror looked at me and, without moving his lips, spoke directly into my mind. "You are not who you think you are. This house is your origin." And the mirror shattered. I spent hours searching every corner, reading every page of the journal, and I started to understand. I was part of an experiment, a secret group, active since the 1970s, searching for people with special energetic signatures. They used houses like this to observe, condition, and erase memories. The journal mentioned dimensional interference, duplicates, and fragmented conscious. Then I found a cassette tape hidden beneath a floorboard in the attic. I played it on an old player. It was my mother's voice, or at least it sounded like her. If you're hearing this, it means you came back. It wasn't our choice, we were forced. We only wanted to protect you. You were never supposed to return to this house. They know you're awake now. The lights started flickering. The house vibrated, not violently, but with a low subterranean hum, like a deep frequency echoing through the foundation. Photos in the attic began falling on their own. I ran downstairs, and there in the living room was the unthinkable. A figure identical to me, standing silently, facing the fireplace. He looked at me like he had been waiting. "Who are you?" I asked, barely able to breathe. "I'm you, the one who was never erased, the original." I froze. "You were created to take my place," he said, "to live a normal life, to keep balance. But the cycle failed. Now we must become one again." Everything went black. I woke up on the floor at the center of a circle marked with symbols I didn't understand. The figure stood above me holding a dagger. This isn't death, it's return. I felt intense heat in my forehead, as if something inside my skull was trying to open. Then I remembered everything: the white room, the cables, the voices, the tests, the times I was split and put back together. This house was a gate, and I was the missing fragment of someone else. I woke up in bed. My clothes were dry. Sunlight poured through the window. Everything looked normal. A dream? No. Everything was still there, the photos, the journal, the attic. But something had changed. I had changed. I could hear things now. Beneath the floors, inside the walls, echoes, crying, whispers of others like me, trapped between memories and realities. I stepped outside, walked into the woods. No fear. It didn't surprise me anymore that the trail shifted, that the trees moved. I was part of the house, and the house was part of me. That afternoon I got a message on my phone from the host. "Thank you for completing the cycle. Now someone else can rent it." I looked out the window. A car was pulling into the long dirt road. A new guest. And I was waiting for them. We like to believe we control our decisions, that we choose where to go, what to rent, what to forget. But there are forces watching us long before we're born. Forces that write our stories for us. I didn't find this house. It called me. Because part of me never left. It was always here, waiting. And now, I'm the one watching. If you ever rent a house and find photos of yourself you've never seen before, run. Before it's too late. If this story shook you like it did me living it, don't forget to subscribe.